The unexpected arrival of the permanent guest has transformed the routine of a young couple into a true emotional field. What should be a passing stay of a few days extended for endless months, and with it, a tension that poisoned the home day after day. The mother-in-law, acting as if she were the absolute owner of the house, manipulated the groceries as if they were her right, hiding food to take her daughter as she spread evil gossip over her daughter-in-law through the building's corridors. Good night, dear listeners. I'm Andre Branco, and you're tuned on the Family Secrets channel. Today I bring you a real story that will make you rethink the boundaries between help and invasion. Enjoy every word. Irina watched silently as her husband dragged a shabby and a travel bag to the door. She expected dramatic scenes, screams, tears, lame excuses. But Victor simply threw the belongings into the hallway with a dry gesture, closed the door firmly, and only then, already in the lobby, dropped the air as if he carried the weight of the world on his back. It's over, he said with a voice that left no room for discussions. 3 months living with this situation was awesome. For the first time since the mother-in-law had settled in her house, Irina saw her husband's face of determination she hadn't seen for a long time. It was as if a window finally opened after months breathing addicted to a damp basement. But this fresh air had a bitter taste of disappointment and tiredness. It all started 3 years earlier in a gym. Irina, then receptionist from the site, met Viktor Ovsyannikov when he went to apply for swimming classes. Tall, wide shoulders, and a sincere smile that illuminated the environment. She planned nothing, just returned the kind gesture and informed the monthly fee. A week later, he waited for her after work with an unusual invitation. Let's go to the movies. And you can trust, I'm not one of those who flirts with every beautiful woman who crosses my path in the pool. The novel flourished fast. Programmer in a large technology company, Victor had a crowded schedule, but always had time for her. 6 months later, they already lived together. Another 6, and he knelt with the ring in his hand. Irina knew about her mother-in-law's existence, of course. Anastasia Genadivna lived in a city 3 hours away, and according to Victor, she was a peculiar woman, but in a good heart. Your peculiarity? After her husband's death, 10 years earlier, she never learned to live alone. My mother is used to being cared for, he explained with a sigh. First for my father, then for me, now for my sister Lena. She just doesn't know how to work otherwise. At the wedding, Anastasia was reserved, greeting the bride and groom with a formal hand grip and a congratulations without enthusiasm. Irina was evaluated as a product in a showcase, but decided to ignore the sensation. After all, the meetings would be rare, and that was enough to keep her quiet. Life went well. They bought a 2-bedroom apartment, took a mortgage, but the happiness of having a home of their own compensated for any sacrifice. Irina got a job at a fitness center near her home. Victor remotely worked most of her time, and everything seemed to be headed, until April brought unexpected news. Victor came home with a dark expression. My mother's house flooded, a piping burst, and now she needs reforms. Lena is traveling, so she'll be with us. A week, at most 2. Irina swallowed hard, but had no courage to refuse. After all, it was family. How to say no to someone in trouble? The next day, Anastasia arrived with 2 huge bags, a travel bag and a cardboard box. Inside her, an elderly cat named Barsic. I couldn't leave it alone in that chaos, he justified, seeing Irina's surprised expression. He is the family, isn't it, Vitina? Irina looked at her husband for support, but he just shrugged, as if he apologized for the unforeseen event. No one had mentioned the cat, but expelled the animal was not in anyone's plans. The first days were even quiet. Anastasia occupied the room, where was the sofa bed, and spent hours watching soap operas. He didn't interfere with the couple's routine, just sighing occasionally, saying he didn't want to be a burden. Irina assured that it was not uncomfortable, but the weeks passed, and the subject come home was never resumed. Victor explained that the works were taking, that it was necessary to change all plumbing, that it cost time and money. Another week, please, he said, and Irina, against his own will, gave in. It was then that things began to go out. First, it was the foods that disappear from the refrigerator. Irina was sure he had bought cheese, butter, and eggs, but the next day everything was gone. Anastasia, didn't you see the cheese I bought yesterday? He asked, trying to disguise the irritation. Cheese, my dear, replied the mother-in-law with an air of offensive innocence. I didn't touch anything. Maybe you forgot to buy. Irina knew it was not oblivion, but she preferred not to insist, until the pattern was repeated 2, 3 times. In the third, she decided to investigate. Hidden. He saw the mother-in-law fill a bag with food while talking on the phone. Yes, Lenachka, I'm already going. I take some groceries to you. I know that after the trip it hasn't been to the market yet. Irina was paralyzed. The woman not only stole their food, but took her to her daughter, who lived just 15 minutes away. When he confronted Victor, he just sighed, exhausted. My mother has always taken care of Lena. She mirrored her since she was a child. I'm going to talk to her, he promised. But either the conversation did not happen, or did not have an effect. The foods continued to disappear. The final blow came from where the least was expected. Finding a neighbor in the elevator, Irina heard a pity-loaded question. How are you holding on? My daughter. Arming. What? He asked, confused. Well, your mother-in-law commented that you don't know how to cook, that poor Victor lies with frozen food, and that your house is a mess. Irina felt the floor disappear under her feet. She was a great cook. Victor always praised her dishes, and the organization of the house was impeccable, almost obsessive. This is not true, was all he could say, while the neighbor apologized, embarrassed. It's just that Anastasia spoke with such conviction, but I always thought you were so capricious. Arriving home, Irina found her mother-in-law's belongings scattered as if she were the real owner of the place. His screens occupied the bathroom, his robe hanging in place of hers, and on the bedroom table of the bedroom, an old photo of Anastasia with the late husband. Sorry, but this is our room, Irina said, trying to keep calm. I think it's better to keep your things in the room where you sleep. I just wanted to make the environment more cozy, said the mother-in-law, hurt. Vitina never cared about her father's photo here. When did the Vitina care? He thought Irina, but swallowed the words. Instead, he collected the objects and took them back to the living room. That night, something inside her broke. It was no longer a matter of patience, but of respect. And when Victor finally took an attitude, throwing his mother's bags out of the house without a word, Irina knew that was the only possible way out. Even if it left a bitter taste in the mouth. Some battles are not to be overcome, but to end. And that definitely came to an end. Once again, Irina tried to talk to her husband. Victor, your mother is spreading horrible gossip over me, began the trembling but firm voice. Tells neighbors I can't cook, that I don't take care of the house. Victor frowned incredulously. Are you sure? Perhaps the neighbor understood wrong. She said textually that it was her words. Irina insisted, feeling the weight of treason in her throat. Well, I'll talk to her, he promised, but the hesitant tone revealed more doubt than conviction. A month passed. Anastasia's return was no longer mentioned. Whenever Irina asked about the leak that justified the invasion, the mother-in-law diverted with stories of incompetent plumbers and the difficulty in finding serious professionals. Until, by chance, Irina heard a phone call. Anastasia, talking to her daughter, Lenia, was not the same caution. No, honey, they don't suspect anything. The Vitina believes in the story of the pipes, and this his wife is too polite to question. 2 months living there, undermining your home, your peace, your marriage. The anger burned inside, but Irina didn't shout it. It didn't cry. Plan. First, he installed a small camera at the head of the bed, just for the dresser where he kept his jewelry and the money reserved for the dream trip. It was not invasion, it was protection. He had noticed his mother in Law's unhealthy interest in his weeks, the casual visits when he thought they were alone. At the same time, he began to write down each expense on the market, photographing the contents of the refrigerator before and after the emergency visits of Anastasia. It would no longer be the madman who forgot what he bought. It also approached the neighbor, the same one that repeated the slander. He took him an apple cake, heard his stories, gained his confidence, until, one day, in the building of the building, the woman faced Anastasia with a sweet smile and a sharp truth. You know, don't Anastasia, her in a divine kitchen, yesterday gave me a piece of this cake of delight. The flushing on the mother-in-law's face was the confirmation that the lies had short legs. But the real blow came from the recordings. Anastasia not only rolled her things, I would enjoy the invasion. He flipped into Irina's intimate diary, tried his dresses before the mirror, as if testing what belonged to him in the right, until, in a scene that froze Irina's blood, the camera caught her mother-in-law holding her wedding ring, Victor's grandmother's inheritance, as it should have gone to Lenia, not to the Sarivista. Anastasia whispered, caressing gold like a stolen trophy. In the next recording, the woman's agile fingers removed notes from the envelope where they kept the economies for the trip. 1, 2, 3 hidden in the pocket, as if it were a right. It was too much. That night, when Victor arrived at work, Irina didn't say a word, just turned on the notebook and squeezed play. I didn't want to believe your mother was capable of this, he said, while the video spoke for herself. Victor's face darkened with each frame, the jaws so tense that they seemed about to crack. When the last recording ended, he got up without a sound and walked to the room where Anastasia watched the soap opera, installed on the couch as owner of the house. Mom, we need to talk. was all Irina heard before the door closed. 15 minutes later, Victor left the room with an expression that Irina never saw him. Without looking back, he opened the closet, threw his mother's clothes in a suitcase, packed the rest in bags. The cat, confused, was placed in the carrier. Anastasia shouted behind him, "Vitina, you can't do this to me. I'm your mother." "Just so I don't call the police for theft," said Victor. "Ice cream. You have the keys to your apartment. There was no flood. You know that. If you don't remember, go to Lenia's house. She welcomes you." The door knocked. The silence that followed was broken only by the punches and shouts outside, until finally they ceased. Anastasia must have understood that this time there was no return. "Sorry." Victor broke the silence, the hoarse voice. "It should have seen that before." Irina shook her head. "You just wanted to believe her best." He laughed, bitter. "And you know, I think she was always like that. I was too young to see." The next few days were a storm. Anastasia turned on nonstop, left messy messages. "This woman bewitched you. You will regret it." Victor, however, did not give in. It showed every message to Irina. "What do you think we should do?" "Cut contact. Give her time to understand what she lost." He agreed. He blocked his mother's number and asked his sister to convey a condition. They would only speak after a sincere apology. To Irina's surprise, Lenia supported the decision. "I always knew our mother was hard, but as that," he confessed, embarrassed. "I'm sorry for the products she took here. I thought they were bought." Little by little, life returned to the Axis. The house breathed relieved. They even managed to make the dream trip with the money Anastasia had tried to steal. And then, 6 months later, came the news that would change everything. Irina was pregnant. Anastasia appeared at the door with an exaggerated bouquet and a chocolate cake. "I came to ask for forgiveness," he said, his eyes low. "I've been wrong. I regret what I did." Irina and Victor exchanged a look. They didn't expect it. "I need time to think," he replied, closing the door carefully. "Do you think she changed?" Irina asked. Victor sighed. "I don't know, but I want our son to know his grandmother, even if it's a complicated grandmother." This time, the rules were clear. No surprise visit. No comments about their lives, only scheduled meetings and respect. To Irina's astonishment, Anastasia accepted. Perhaps the news of the grandson or granddaughter had messed with something in it. When Sophia was born, the mother-in-law came to come once a week, helping with the baby without criticizing, without sending. He even praised, one day, while Irina breastfeeding the little one, "I never thought I would say that, but you're a good mother." It was the most sincere compliance Irina has already received from her. 5 years passed. Sophia grew a child full of life, who loved them both, the parents and the grandmother. Anastasia Gennadievna, to a general surprise, had become much more docile and tolerant. It could still be stubborn and, from time to time, release some comments out of time, but apologized quickly and struggled to fix it. Victor won the long-awaited promotion at work. Irina opened her small yoga studio, a dream that seemed distant years earlier. Finally, they paid the mortgage and became absolute owners of the apartment that sweat had cost them so much. And among so many achievements, they established a small rule that changed everything. The week of the visit. Every few months, Anastasia Gennadievna stayed with them for 7 days, no more, no less. An agreement that satisfied everyone. Until, after one of these visits, Irina found an envelope on the kitchen table. Inside, the exact value that the mother-in-law had taken from their economies years earlier, and a short, handwritten note. "I know no money will notice what I did, but I want you to know I'm grateful every day for the second chance they gave me. I love you, your mother." Irina showed Victor, and the two couldn't contain the smile. "You know," he said, embracing her, "sometimes people just need them to throw their bags on the stairs to understand they are wrong." She laughed, leaning her head on her husband's shoulder. "I just hope our daughter never becomes a mother-in-law like that." "With a mother like you?" joked Victor, kissing her. "Impossible." The envelope money was spent one day in the water park with Gennadievna Anastasia included in the invitation. And that, no doubt, was one of the happiest days of their lives, because, in the end, the family was not about perfection, but about second chances, shared laughs, and the certainty that even in the stumble, there was always a way to start over, together.